Well, good day. So for today, we're gonna go way back and look at a Christmas classic cartoon. It is another first cartoon appearance of a certain character, and that would be Santa Claus. So as per usual, we'll go through this list of stuff here, and we'll kind of go from there. Alright, let's go. Okay, so we start off at Santa's North Pole Castle / workshop, where all the Christmas elves are getting the place ready. You know, feeding the reindeer, cleaning the sleigh, all that fun jazz, because today is Christmas Eve, and the big jolly elf's gonna be taking off real soon. Speaking of Santa, he's inside his place checking the children's toy wish list once or twice. And his accountant is checking to see how good the children were. Kind of 50-50 looks like. Pretty smooth operation going on there. But man, Santa's got like a whole pile of letters to go through still. Like, it's kind of crunch time, man. Like, can he get these gifts fulfilled? Well, if you believe in Santa and Christmas magic, he indeed can. So the elves are getting busy and down with the whole gift building. Lots of the toys are the same thing, so like you would think that he could have gotten those toys built much earlier in the year, right? Like dolls and rocking horses, like they're just mass producing these things. Like you could have really saved yourself a whole lot of time, right? Sure, some kids have some custom orders, you know, but like for the rest of it, Wrong. That's not how Santa rolls, man. He does roll like a big kid though, even though there's like a major time crunch, man, he still gotta stop and play with the toys, cause why not? I guess last minute quality control, I guess. But these toys are hip, man, so hip that they would just themselves march right into the giant Christmas sack, and then bam, the sack is tossed on the sleigh, and boom, Santa's gone, right? Out of here! So he can do his quick trip to go all around the world and see all the kids. Yeah, short and sweet, but that's where this fantastic little cartoon ends. So that was a pretty good little cartoon, right? Just kind of quick to the point, right? Like you have Santa and elves building toys, and then Santa takes off. Like that's all you really need. In these older cartoons, like I really love the attention to detail that they have in the background and everywhere. Like it just makes the whole place feel like so real, even though it's animated, right? Like Santa's whole factory, it isn't this clean, pristine kind of magical place. Like if they have clutter and like broken toys that they're gonna fix later, they have clutter with letters, they have clutter with so many things because it's a functioning workshop. Sometimes you don't always have time to clean up, right? Like it's a little detail like that, you're like, yeah man, that seems almost real. And really just the whole look and vibe of Santa's workshop and factory and castle and all that, like it did seem magical. So if you were a kid watching this the first time, you'd be like, holy crap, right? One of the really awesome small details is actually at one of the opening scenes. So in that scene, we would see the elves that are getting the reindeer ready with like feeding them hay or brushing their teeth and whatnot. And in one of the back stables, there is an elf that is shoveling crap out of the stable. It's like such a small detail, but it's like, man, they had the wherewithal to make even that seem real because that's exactly what happens in stables, right? Unless that's a Christmas tradition that I just don't know about. Like, the fine details, right? So this cartoon has been around for a very long time, and if you haven't by some chance seen it, you know, I would suggest that you do. But there is a bit of a disclaimer warning. So this cartoon was made quite a long time ago. So the original broadcast of this cartoon do show some toys that are showing a stereotype to groups of people. And every rebroadcast and re-release of it since has had those segments edited out. So if you are going to watch this for the first time and you're going to download it or something, you know, watch out for which version you are downloading. So yeah. In 1933, there was a sequel made to this one, so let's go take a look at that one. Yeah, so we pick up right where we left off last time. Santa's flying around and he finally lands on top of a house with a family that has very active parents. So Santa slides down the chimney and starts to set the place up with the old Christmas decorations. Or rather, he gets all of these self-aware toys to set up the Christmas tree and stuff. And in all these fancy ways too, right? Like with the candles, the bulbs, the fake snow, all of that, right? So that leaves Santa with not much to do, so he's gotta, look busy, I guess. So he goes and fills the stockings with care. Like, that's actually a pretty sweet gig. You do like a little bit of work, you eat some cookies and stuff, and and the rest of it takes care of itself. But in the whole decoration setup rigmarole, man, Santa, like, being all full of joy, he just can't help himself, and he lets out this really big belly laugh, right? So big and so loud that, dang it, if he didn't wake up all the children in the house. All 8 of them, and they all rush out of the rooms to figure out, like, what the commotion is.
Unfortunately,
Junior shoots out a wicked sneeze and bam! Alerts Santa and all these self-aware toys, and they're all panicked, right? Like, all these toys are like, oh my god, we gotta hide in our Christmas boxes, and Santa's gotta get out of there before he gets noticed, which they all do. So the kids eventually burst into the room to see all this Christmas splendor with the tree, the toys, and all that. Like, it's pretty amazing. They rush to the window to see jealous St. Nick and his 8 reindeer just like take off through the skies, and it's like, damn, pretty fantastic way to end a Christmas episode. And that's that. This is one I've seen a whole lot more of other than the first one, but it's the same kind of thing, short and sweet and to the point, right? Like, Santa lands on a house, Santa drops off the gifts and takes off. But it is a little different, compared to modern Christmas. This is kind of showcasing, old school Christmas. Nowadays, when we're setting up the Christmas tree and stuff like that, it's probably December 1st or the second week of December. Like, it's gonna be pretty early. Whereas back in the day, they would set up the Christmas tree like Christmas Eve or like a day or two before Christmas and then tear it all down like the day after or so. Like, they wouldn't have the tree up for really that long, right? So it's like when the kids wake up on Christmas morning, it would be so much more magical because they wouldn't just see presents, they would see the presents, the tree, the decorations, everything. Like, it would be such a completely different look from the night before to now for Christmas, and it's like, whoa, right? So that's a pretty good little time capsule in that regard. And like, a few years back, this Christmas video actually inspired me to research a whole bunch of Christmas traditions, both, the traditional and the modern styles, because I noticed when Santa landed on top of the roof, there was only 8 reindeer. 8 reindeer? Where's Rudolph, right? Like, he's the 9th reindeer. Why isn't he leading the sleigh? And I was like, wow, like, when did Rudolph show up? Like, I actually have no idea. Like, I thought Rudolph was, like, from the, 1700s, 1800s, something ridiculous like that. No, man, he was from, the 1940s. Like, relatively, he's not really that old. So again, if you haven't seen this one, check it out. It is pretty classic. Clearly based on elements of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. But yeah! So with all that, let's go see what else we can find out about Christmas traditions and all those other kind of things behind the scene. So this first cartoon appearance of Santa goes pretty way back, right? But if you want to see his first live action appearance, man, you'd have to go back even further. Like, we're talking 1912. It was a short silent film that was simply called Santa Claus. That one had Liam Bantock play Santa Claus with a pretty fancy costume there. Man, and that thing is like 110 years old. Like, that's pretty wild. And of course, 20 years after that, boom, you got this cartoon, which was pretty simple and to the point. It had a couple of pretty cool little Easter eggs in there. A very obvious one, you seen Charlie Chaplin in toy form being chased by a cop. Not sure why they included him in there, man, but that's kind of, a nice little thing to see. There is also a Mickey Mouse toy that is hidden in Santa's sack as he's about to leave, the North Pole there. It's kind of barely noticeable, which is kind of funny. But in the Night Before Christmas cartoon, we did see another toy with Mickey Mouse that was much more prominent. It was Mickey riding this scooter, and that was actually basically based on a real toy. Looked kind of slightly different, but yeah, pretty much the same thing, right? So in real life, there was a Mickey Mouse trolley manufactured by the Lionel Toy Company, which was similar to this Mickey Mouse toy, and it was really important because the Disney company was in really bad financial times there, and this toy sold so well, it actually saved them from financial ruin. A Christmas miracle. So these two cartoons are technically part of a trilogy. So there was Santa's Workshop in 1932, there was the sequel, The Night Before Christmas in 1933, and there was a third story that was released in 1950, but it was released in book form. The story was called Santa's Toy Shop, where he basically hung out in a toy store and just, had fun. But a really wonderful aspect of that story is that we did finally get to see Mrs. Claus included into this storyline. So yeah, other than that, there's not much to say about these cartoons, I guess. Like, just a bunch of sentient toys kind of doing things, which I guess is a precursor to the whole Toy Story, saga? I guess, hey, yeah, and technically it's part of the same universe. So if you're ever wondering how we got to this Santa Claus character, I'll make a very, very long story short and just give you the basics of Santa's origins. So, like, way back in the day, there was a Christian bishop named Nicholas, and he was from a very wealthy family. So he was a philanthropist, and he gave money and goods to people who needed them the most. He eventually died in the year 343 on December 6th. And shortly after, there was an annual gathering known as the Feast of St. Nicholas, where people would, hang out and exchange gifts with each other. Usually just kind of symbolic gifts like bags of nuts and fruits, kind of mostly, but still having the giving kind of tradition alive. The traditions of that day were eventually blended in with the new December 25th Christmas Day traditions. As Christianity spread in Europe, so came with it the St. Nicholas traditions. And the St. Nicholas phenomenon was mixed with local pagan traditions and or stories, names, so each region kind of had its own version of St. Nicholas, which is why Santa Claus has so many names attached to him, right? And there was all these different traditions with each region as well. Like some places, St. Nicholas rode on a flying horse. Sometimes he would listen, down the chimney to hear who has been good or who has been bad, right? Like a lot of different traditions that eventually evolved and kind of mixed together. But if we narrow down to two specific characters, there was the Dutch variation of St. Nick, who was called Sinterklaas. He sailed on a ship into the harbors, like not really like a flying reindeer kind of situation there. And there was the English character named Father Christmas, and he wasn't a St. Nicholas character, but he was the embodiment of Christmas festivities, right? Like the dinners, the merriment, the drinking. He was depicted as the ghost of Christmas present in the classic story, A Christmas Carol, just in case you didn't know. So if we fast forward to 1908 in New York, in the magazine Salmagundi, writer Washington Irving wrote a lampoon on Dutch and English Christmas traditions, where he combined the skinny Dutch Sinterklaas character with the portly English Father Christmas character. He lampooned the name Sinterklaas to come up with the name Santa Claus, and boom, just like that, you got this brand new Christmas version of Saint Nick. Technically. And from there, this concept of Santa Claus really started to pick up steam. Like a bunch of writers would eventually write stories about Santa Claus specifically. They would constantly add things to his story, like he was an elf originally. He would eventually get reindeer. He would eventually live at the North Pole, etc., etc., etc. And bam, right? Like you got the character that we know today. And as I say, a very long story short, man, because there is so much history, specifically about Saint Nick and how his Christmas persona really just expanded throughout Europe and all the different ways that there is with him, man. It's pretty neat to see. But yeah, so that is that, and all the other things are those, and that is the end of that. Right on, and there you go. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you liked it as much as I did making it. Also, feel free to check out the source material that I featured in this video. And if you want to leave a comment on anything you may have liked or things I might have missed in this, feel free to do so. Or anything else, just to say hi. That's cool too. And other than that, have a great day. Thanks.